All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. It's been a long vacation, guys. It's been a long vacation, but we are back. Almost a vacation. I felt like I felt like robbery being on that vacation. I almost feel like, oh my God, I don't know if people are going to get their dose of fatherhood uh, in the week. But we are here. We're back. Back as many of you guys are fathers out there are getting ready to send your kids back to school, get ready for school from K to 12, um, college, all those times happening, starting and getting that. And so you know that we have to get back on routine. It's good to see the guys tonight. So I want to welcome you all here to the Fatherhood Think Tank. And we have a very interesting topic tonight. Um, it was brought to me by Brother Tenney. As a father, how do you keep the streets, social media from absurding, um, usurping your authority over your child, our children? And I think this is a really good topic as we get ready to go back to school thing, because influence is probably, and it's showing statistically, influence is probably the biggest factor that challenges your parenting skills as a parent, and puts many of the things that you say on deaf ear. And it used to be like maybe the crowd or maybe another person, but now you have a whole system, social media. You have the streets that where they're at hanging out, kind of battling maybe some of the stuff you're saying, or maybe not, because you may be, hey, some people might be supporting some of what the streets say and got the kids in the middle of that mix, and you never know how that goes. Well, we'll talk. We're gonna talk about that tonight. We have our fathers here tonight. A group of fathers that I know quite well. It's good to see these gentlemen, so I'm going to have them. Uh, Before I do that, let me just run through really quick, talk a little bit about our sponsors, because I can never go without kind of like really talking and recognizing our sponsors. Our first sponsor, as you may know, main sponsor is Jag, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. Um, whenever you do, work it with your all. It's one of his mottos. Um, you can reach, you can definitely reach him at Jag Attorney at Law, um, Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire, j.gaspar at jag1law.com. Phone number 305-827-8087. I might know that number better than I know my own number at this point now. You can reach him at his website, www.jag1law.com. Definitely, when you're looking at that, that's a key sponsor and a proud member, participant, and father of the Fatherhood Think Tank. I talked very deeply. I think over the vacation, I was able to meet with most of our partners, through the Omega Psi Phi fraternity partners who support us through their fatherhood initiative. So I just want to shout those guys out. First, we have the Fort Lauderdale Bros, Zeta Chi chapter of Omega Psi Phi, a proud partner through with the Fatherhood Think Tank through their fatherhood initiative. Also, we have the brothers of Zeta's I Knew chapter, Lagos, Nigeria, another proud chapter who is a partner with us through Omega Psi Phi Fatherhood and Mentorship Program that supports the Fatherhood Think Tank. And the last partner we have is the Omega Lambda chapter of Omega Psi Phi, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who is also a partner through Fatherhood Initiative. So we have these partners who are working with us and allowing us to, as much as possible, support and bring other people into this platform. Within a year, we should definitely be, finding and seeing more brothers coming and more fathers coming onto the platform to have this serious conversations that we have and that we should be having as men together. Guys, welcome tonight. Tell everybody out here in Fatherhood Think Tank land who you are and a little bit about yourself as we get ready to get into this conversation tonight.
I'll go ahead and go. My name is Ed Tenney. I have 3 grown adult children. I have 3 grandbabies, 2 on the West Coast, 1 on the East Coast. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
Johan, I think you're on mute, brother.
My apologies. Hi, my name is Ruhan Rodok with 2 young daughters, 2 young adults, and as usual, it's a pleasure being on the show to learn and to share knowledge to improve parents and fathers all across the world.
2 young adults. Wow.
Right? Remember when they were little middle schoolers?
Yeah, exactly. It blows my mind every time I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, 1 grandson, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
So I'm going to go ahead and since we're here, let let me ask this, guys. How have the last part we have not seen each other, not talking? I don't want us to go into this because you guys I consider you my friends, and I haven't really spoke or talked to any of you guys in a couple, almost now 3 weeks at the most, and that's a long time when you see somebody every week, mostly every week. How's everybody? How's everybody doing? there any ups, downs, or rounds that we can maybe show some uplift, some care, some love to you, or even keep you in our prayers as something that's going on. So, guys, I haven't seen you, haven't told me. I know I talked to Ron the other day about some things, but how's how's the fathers?
Well, so I would say, being a father who has two parents alive, my mom and dad, it's been a challenge to take care of my mom and dad and to take care of my two daughters. You have being a sandwich parent. I call it a sandwich parent. It's been challenging to deal with their changes along their journey. So you have to really focus. And as I always say, when you're stressed, you gotta stop, think, observe, and proceed. So I've been using that a lot to deal with the situations as it changes for both the young daughters and for my mature or seasoned parents, I should say.
Hey, Rohan, I definitely, that's a real, I don't even think sometimes, and that might even be a whole nother topic to really talk about, I think, at some point, because as fathers, sometimes we're thinking about raising our children and we're focused on that. And sometimes realizing our parents are getting to a point that they need us to raise them as not raise them, but be caregivers and be the person responsible for a lot of stuff that they may not be able to manage and handle at the time. I don't know what I was watching some, and it's funny that you bring that up because I was in New York and I seen like tons of grandparents with their young grandchildren, right? And I thought to myself, and I had a conversation uh, with my partner, and kind of said, it's amazing when I think about communities. In our community, Black community, we have grandparents have taken care of children a lot, right? They have taken care of the younger children, whatever. But I realized that the way the Asian parents, that grandparents I was seeing, it seemed to me that it might have been a little bit of different taking care of they was doing. It was like they may have all lived in the same house. This might have been this communal type of thing that is going on, and the parents might have been at work or wherever, and the grandparents would had the kids. And I mean, some of these grandparents, I felt like they was on their way. But again, I think about, listen, young people can keep you young. You know, as you get older and you moving around, those young people will make you motivate because it help you do things. So something to really think about, for as fathers, and a topic to think about, and I think that's the name of it, the sandwich. How does it feel to be a sandwich father? The meat in the sandwich. That's a catchy title we might be looking into. And I definitely hear you. I definitely hear you because either when your parents are independent and being independent, you also have to check on them because they may say, "Hey, I'm good," but somehow you may be, you don't hear from them for a couple of days. You don't think about they're not being good in that same capacity. So I definitely hear you wrong with that.
Yep. Yeah. You really have to balance because as some of their faculties change, you really have to listen and you really have to have some empathy.
Dude. I've been saving this one though. I just wasn't ready to share at that particular time. But it was what it was, yeah. America's 250th birthday. I had the pleasure of being laid up for the whole entire holiday. I had plans for and probably planned for a year to enjoy because I was laid up in a hospital at Memorial West.
Huh?
my wife, she peeped something that I didn't feel anything. To God be the glory, because this God just got a way of protecting His children like that. But come to find out, I had a stroke,
What?
and so my wife, like, she picked up on the symptoms because she experienced it with her mom. And so now I'm like, I don't feel nothing. I mean, everything is working, and all my motor functions is working. I'm pretty much clear in thought. I can talk and stuff like that. She says my mouth was drooping and whatever the case may be, but I don't remember that. So this is always an ongoing debate about that. But she was able to she called the paramedics. They took me to Memorial West. That was a Wednesday before. Yeah. So it was July 1st. So from July 1st all the way to about July 5th or 6th, I was in the hospital. And so what happened after they did all the CAT scans and everything, they were like, yeah, you have a what was it? Had a blood clot on the brain.
Right.
That I could have never seen. I'm like, that explains it. But they said it had a small blood clot on the brain, and so they was gonna have to keep me in there to try to get rid of the blood clot before they can release me.
Right.
And then on top of the blood clot, and here it is, I'm a guy that walk or / half walk, 50% walk, 50% run 20 miles every week. They say also you have what they said, like my heartbeat was at 19% when it's supposed to be at 60, 65%.
It was low. Is that what they said?
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. 19%, and it's supposed to be the average heartbeat is at 60%.
60%.
Mine was at 19. So I'm like, oh. And so I'm sitting there like, I'm like, damn, I do everything, but I thought about it. I'm like, man, remember, you was a time that you was almost 300 pounds. And so your new conditioning have to catch up with your old conditioning or something to that point. But they said getting the heart rate back up is fixable. And they was able to get rid of the blood clot in my brain. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I think the scariest, and people are like, was that scary for you? I'm like, no, it was an inconvenience because I wanted to be home for the 250th anniversary of America's. I mean, I had plans. And so I even had people to bring me barbecue to the hospital. But I'm like, ain't no way in the world. Somebody brought me some barbecue. Pretty good too. But nonetheless, they asked me what was the scariest thing for me. I'm like, the scary thing didn't happen during it, before it happened, or during when I was in the hospital. The scariest thing happened after I got to the hospital, when I was able to really reflect. And that's when the scary thing happened for me, which was, I told them I was stuck. The scary thing exists between what happened and what didn't happen, right? So right in the middle between what happened and what didn't happen was the scariest part for me. And what I mean by that is because I experienced a traumatic event that most people have some type of injuries from, or some type of trauma. I experienced no trauma in that whole altercation, that whole crisis. And so the fact that I experienced no trauma, and most of the people I know that passed away and suffered that type of event, either lost function of their limbs, or their facial expression, their muscular, whatever the case may be. But the fact that God allowed me to not even experience like none of it, and the fact that I was literally like normal through the whole process, it showed me that there is a God. And I think that it was a miracle, the fact that that I was able to exist right in the middle, and God just kept me right in the middle of the trauma, as opposed to being affected or being traumatized by the trauma. So God is good, and I'm here with you guys. And again, that happened way back in July. Here we are in August. I mean, I just didn't have time because it didn't present itself for me to share it, but I thought I had owed it to you guys to share it with you, and that's what it is. So that's why I'm at. So I'm on a bunch of medications right now. This regimen my doctor put me on to get my heartbeat up to 60 something. He said it's fixable. I just have to do everything that they prescribed, and they was able to get rid of the blood clot through this new thing they call clock busters or something like that.
Right.
So I was able to get they got rid of the clock, by that. And when they ran everything again, everything was back on point.
Wow. Lightburn, I tell them that's something I teach every day. I do CPR, and that's something I teach. I talk about every day in terms of, the heart and stroke. And as you mentioned, that we know that stroke comes in threes. We know that you're very lucky. You did not have the one where you had a burst. It burst in your brain. I know a lot of people have that one. And they obviously got you within luckily for you, there are many fathers who live alone. They don't have that support of someone to call and say, hey, this doesn't look right, I'm calling 911. Most fathers, they drive to the hospital by themselves, which is dangerous. They find them in the hospital parking lot in a bad situation, sometimes not alive. And it's fixable, and it's not the end of the world. All you have to do is just make the changes. And I talk about the 3 C's. I'm not to mention to run check, change, control. So you have the opportunity to check. It's time for change and control. Yep.
Man, Brother Lightborn, God bless you, man. That's it's an amazing story and testimony. I'm glad you're still on this side of the grass, because
Absolutely.
I've known people who have had strokes and have suffered, debilitating injuries as a result. So I'm glad you're around. Great report. So thank you for sharing that, and something to be aware of. And thank you, Brother Rowan, because yeah, that's an important thing. Kudos to your wife, man, for being able to
She's lucky me.
spot that. That's amazing. So the Lord bless her as well.
Yep.
I'm doing fine. I'm blessed. I'm glad to be a part of my East Coast grandkids' life. Just enjoying him, watching him grow. So it's all good over here.
Well, as Ron always says, we do it better the next day. So this is an opportunity for all men here to do it better the next day. You had the opportunity to be back here to share that story, and we're glad to have you back.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, my wife, she's always been a blessing from the day I met her. And that day I just didn't have the energy to fight it, because I'm like, man, I'm not going to no hospital that day. This is America's 250th birthday. Not to mention, and it ain't nothing like when you have plans, man. You're trying to get between a man and his plans and something. I'm like, not to mention, I was scheduled anyway, and this is, it's very ironic, because we was already scheduled for our annual anyway. You understand? But I don't think the annual would have spotted that particular situation. And here's another thing I left out. I was supposed to go do my 4 miles that particular day. But what happened is the rain had me trapped inside. So what I did was did my inside regiment, and I after I finished my inside regiment, I took a shower, came down. Oh, I was watching a movie upstairs. She was watching a movie downstairs. I came downstairs to get something, and she told me the movie she was watching. I was like, all right, you know what? She asked me to watch it with her. That's what it was. Normally I'm like, no, I like this movie upstairs, so I watch it, And I was like, you know what? I'll watch it with you, because I like that movie too as well. And so I went to watch it with her, and that's when the event took place. Right there, just watching the movie with her. And she was like, we were just talking, joking around. I guess she thought I was playing. To me, I thought I was playing too. And then, of course, she observed whatever the physical dysfunction was, and just got real nervous and called the police. I mean, called not the police, but the ambulance. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna just go flow with it, and come, and lo and behold, she was right. And so now you guys are gonna love this. So this is Ron. This is to your point, your question. So now when people ask me, like, Lionel, how you doing? I'm like, better than dead. So that's my response from now on. So I mean, it's a tremendous testimony, and you know what? And it's a tremendous test to this marriage, and why marriage is so important, and why marriage is so much more than we make it out to be, or so much more than we understand.
And so the fathers who are here, who as Ron, I should say, as Lightman bring this up, it's a simple test, and I'm gonna do it so we can all share, because we're here to share, to say fathers and other families. We do the acronym BFAST, BEFAST, and B is for balance, E is for your eyes moving left and right, F is for face drooping, you'll actually see it, and A is for arm weakness, and S is for slurred speech, and T is time to call 911. So luckily you had your wife there who was there, who called 911. So by knowing the signs, we're able to intervene, which that's what she did, because Lightburn had his plans, and she intervened, and she said, hey, put your plans on hold. Let's go do our check right here. So I again, that's a wife, man. She deserves a nice ice cream, a cone ice cream right there.
I'll make sure to get her one.
Yeah, you need to put that in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, I will do, yeah.
Check 1 2. Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you very well.
Check 1 2. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So listen, man, Lightborn, that is a testimony, and so much a testimony to why I said all the time, as fathers, it's important to have, as being a father, most of the time you should have a wife, right? And so, and being a father and having a wife and being a husband, this is a testimony to many fathers out there who are, kind of like living and saying, it doesn't matter, because I'm sure when we do the statistics and look at the matrix of the fathers who have a stroke, or I think even as Rohan presented, if you don't have anybody around you to see you being different, you won't ever acknowledge being different. I know, you'll just say that you said it yourself. I feel good. Hey, I was feeling good. Everything was great. Everything was fine. But what happens is we don't see ourselves sometimes. And this is a great example of having that. That's why it's important to, a man can be an island, but maybe you need to have some boats coming to the island frequently. Something to that, some visitors to the islands and people on the beach, because, these are the things. And it is a testimony to relationship and marriage. The idea that, hey, imagine you was by yourself, single mingle, getting ready for the 25th barbecue, 250 barbecues that you plan to get this and that. That was on your mind. You ain't thinking about, you already got your clothes laid out, your red, white, and blue shorts, your red, white, and blue shoes, and socks, and shirt. You ready to go? Getting casket fresh. because you don't even know that. We don't even know. We just thinking everything is good, and it takes to. And I think this is listen. If people didn't hear anything, without a doubt, that his wife was able to see the signs and react. Because a lot of times, what happens with a lot of not just men but anybody, no one is around. They don't see it. They say, "I just got a bad headache. I'm gonna go to sleep. I need to eat." You estimate everything else, but the things that that Rohan was just presenting to us. So, Rohan, thank you for that information, because that's definitely the type of information that people need to be able to prepare themselves to get out here.
Ron, especially men. And let me make a note of that. Especially men. Most men, they will go. They have a headache. They're gonna lie down. They're not calling 911. They're going on the highway driving, and you hear these stories that they had a car accident, but many people don't know why they had a car accident. Because most times as men, the society says you got to be tough. You're a male. What are you talking about? You have a headache. No males have a headache. And these are small things. Because the same scenario with women and men happens. We may have different organs, which unfortunately we prioritize on the organs, not prioritizing on the brain. And again, luckily, and the situation end up in a good way. And remember, if we know that by getting him to the hospital within an hour, they were able to do the clot busting surgery or apply that method to what would say clear the drain, if you want to use that for plumbing term. But we know that there's two types of stroke. There's ischemic and there's another one where it bursts, and that's the one that's dangerous, because once it bursts in the brain, that's a different. You can't use that clot busting, that Drano, so to speak. Yeah, you talk about surgery. So it's a learning lesson for all of us. Stroke is a part of the journey. But again, once we apply what we need to apply, hopefully we can prevent these illnesses.
Well, Ron, that goes back to your topic for tonight, which is let me read it. It says, as a father, how do you keep the streets and social media from usurping your authority over your child? Which means how do you keep your social media for being a greater influence on your child than you are an authority? And my answer, I guess, with testimony is, first you got to be here, because you can't do nothing if you ain't here. And so I think and I think we value everybody's life, because we're conditioned to value lives, protect and provide for our loved ones. And because we are conditioned, and I'm talking about in the good sense, good conditioning, to protect and provide for our loved ones, we put our lives healthy and what should be a priority on the back burner. And so because of that, but that's not how it really works, because on a ship and on a plane, it doesn't work the same way. And so I think oftentimes in life, when you're just trying to be the best person, man, husband, father, you're trying to be, sometimes we forget to put the life preserver and the life mask or the oxygen mask on ourselves most times. And I think in our effort to recondition ourselves in a good way, on the flip side of that, we recondition ourselves in a bad way. And I think there needs to be a balance to what the holistic approach is, or what the holistic approach looks like to actually building or developing the whole man. And so that's another topic we can talk about. But yeah, as far as tonight's topic, you have to first be here in order to be anything or in order to answer that question, or be an answer to that question that we're raising tonight when it comes to our kids.
And I think that I guess one of the big things that is coming up very often with this topic is the influences that not only that the street now has, but they have a megaphone to reinforce the stuff they want to press upon your child or children with social media. And so it becomes this idea of becoming socially constructed, normalized for the things that they see. Oh, if the it's it's funny because we were talking to a brother. I was talking to a good friend of mine about, and he was talking about his son, and his son is doing really big things and about to, already been recruited, and it's the senior year. So everything is a goal for him to be at go to the next level of his own personal life. And the dad said he kind of like ran. Him and his son was together, and they ran into a boy who, and not to say that that this boy is bad or anything else, but he's a friend of the friend who is now in jail, right? Who also was a good athlete, and this guy that they ran into was a good athlete, and it's just, but they're influenced by other things. It's other things that have way more influence on them, and sometimes it's misguided because people have this idea, oh, you can do all this stuff and still do this, and I feel like that's you can do stuff, but it's some stuff they're not gonna let you in the door. They're not gonna let you inside if you're doing it. I give an example. He wanted to go to the school that the other guy went to, that my friend's son go to, but he has a neck tattoo, and it was like, no, you can't be at our school with a neck tattoo. And again, I have some, for me, that's like, well, why can't this and why? And then sometimes you have to just, I think sometimes the reality is you have to realize that there's things going on in this culture that people don't even know. They don't know, but they do know that every person they see in the media who's did something or what have you might have a neck tattoo. So it becomes this connection to the influence. And so they may say, well, we don't want that kind of trouble. Or they might even say, what I said is, this is a minor, right? And so one of the things as a school, I say, well, if a minor came to my school and already had all these tattoos, that's already illegal at some point, right? I mean, it's not, they shouldn't, most tattoo artists are not allowed to give minors tattoos. And did a parent approve that tattoo? And again, I don't want this to be about the tattoos. I want it to be about how understanding when you want to go into some of these people's places, like, people can say it's not fair, and I agree, it's not fair, but it's just their place, and you want to go to it. You can start your own place and do it any way you want, but if you want to go to their place, they may have some qualifications, some rules, some regulations for how and who they want to be in there, and that's just the reality. It's not, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a reality. I don't think that, I would love to believe that even with all my education that, I could go maybe get a face tattoo and this and that. And then people would say, yeah, we want you to come and work with our third and fourth graders.
Hey, do static stretches.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at the park with my daughter working out. I'm sorry. I thought I was on you.
And in that point, parents might say, hey, look, you got this guy working here. What, they don't want to hear nothing about no education. They don't hear anything. They have to do with their feeling. And guess what? I would have to respect that because there was a choice for me to make that choice. And so I would have to deal with that consequence. So, it is a choice, and I can't control the consequence that might come with that. So that, it's those kind of things that is difficult. And how do we share that with our children? I think this is what our conversation was with my buddy. is how can he really express this to his son? And he has a daughter too, but not both of them. How can he really express it to them so they understand and have some leeway with all the other influence that they think like, oh, it's not that serious, not that big of a deal. It's, and my friend was saying, I'm not telling you can't be friends, I can't do this, can't do that. But remember that everybody may pretend that they're happy that you're being successful and something good is happening to you. But sometimes they're not. Because I believe this, misery love company. If a person is miserable, they would love for you to come and be miserable with them. That would be one of their favorite things to happen. So we can have a misery party. So
That is so true.
nobody want to be alone in misery.
I remember a female I talked to. She asked me to smoke weed with her, and I said to her, "Why should I smoke weed?" She said, "Well, it makes me feel good, and you could, we both could, if we both smoke weed, we both will feel good." And of course, knowing me, I'm gonna ask some questions. Why are you smoking weed? I said, "Well, I have some underlying issues that this medium makes me feel good." I said, "Well, I don't have no underlying issues, so." So again, you're right. Misery love that company, boy. I have to agree with that. That's just an example. Just many more.
I just think about, I think what made me think about the topic of discussion is that with the event of AI, as it relates to social media, it's already going past my ability to put the shields up, I guess, if you will, because you can in some instances recognize what's AI and what's not, but as the technology grows, it's becoming more difficult to ascertain what's real and what's not. And when someone has a narrative of deception, and with the, I guess, overuse, in my opinion, of cell phones, social networking, all this other kind of stuff, when a child is being fed from those scenarios more than they're being fed by their parental figures, there's an imbalance. And I guess as a dad, given to today's scenario of influence, man, I don't know. Do you keep the cell phones away? I remember when cell phones were just coming out. I didn't let my kids get cell phones, at least when my daughter, until she got into middle school. And even then, I felt like it was too soon. But kids are on iPads. Kids are on, cell phone. They have their own numbers and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm just seeing the influence of parent figures just really imbalanced. And I'm not exactly sure how you fight that, other than, you can't keep them in a bubble. You have to help them be disciplined on, how they're receiving stuff. But at the same time, what is your recourse?
I would add, when it comes to social media, there's a term, I think sometimes you gotta step into their shoes. And what I mean by that, meaning you're in your shoes as a parent and they have a child here. how can I normalize myself with a child? They're learning, they're young. Most of them may not have a lot of, well, there are some kids who have trauma, and there are some kids who just go on there for fun, for silly stuff that we in our generation did not have access to. But social media can be used for positive, to be positive. And in the sense of saying to the child, play with the child and say, hey, let's do this together. That way you can learn what the child is looking at. Because if I say to you, I give you a story. I say to you, Charlie, don't play with the rabbit babies. I tell the child, don't play with the rabbit babies. And I go out on the road, I come back, the babies are dead. I say, what happened? Well, you told the child not to play with the rabbit babies. But what we didn't tell the child is that if you play with the rabbit babies, the mom is unable to smell them. She can't feed them because she has an odor that she uses to recognize the babies. And she did not feed those babies and they died. So many times we have to tie the do not do this with the consequences. So here we are. If you stay up on the computer tonight, it's going to affect you at school tomorrow because you're going to be too tired to learn. So we do half of the story where we said, I'm the parent, listen to me, which is technically what most parents do, but we need to also tie the consequences to those behaviors. Let's do 2 hours tonight, and then we go to bed. And sometimes parents, including me, have to put on my phone too. So you put on your phone, and your daughter or grandchild put on their phone, now it becomes the norm. Because guess what? I put on my phone, you put on your phone, we can go get a good night's sleep. So many times, parents have to set by example and explain the consequences. Because old saying never changes. Monkey do, it's an old one.
Monkey see, monkey do.
See, monkey do.
Simple. So those
Right. Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this. I think to answer your concerns, Teeny, I believe that because life gets in the way sometimes, we give our kids more option than objective. If I asked you what was the objective of your family, right? And this is the thing, because we think all of us have objectives on our resumes and portfolio, right? But we don't have no objectives on our family. And so, and guess what? And this is how we sell ourselves to get jobs and different opportunities. And so we know our professional objective, but what do our personal objective look like for our families? And I don't think we ever sit around and say, okay, what is a light born? What is the objective of a light born? What's the objective of Lionel's family? And so we work so hard on our professional objectives and so little on our personal objectives. No wonder influence can come in and supersede our authority when it comes to our children. And so I think today's parent, including myself, I've given my children more options than objectives. I think if I gave them just as much objectives, if I gave them options, because I'm not mad at the options I gave them. Just disappointed. I could have gave them more objective to match the options, and that way they would have had a stronger outcome. But because I didn't, a lot of them, was impacted or influenced by certain influences that came with those options, because the objective wasn't strong enough to strengthen the options that I gave them. And they made their mistakes. But the best part about the mistakes, and I think I love T.D. Jakes for saying this, years before I became a father to teenage and adult children, he said, sometimes you got to give your children the opportunity to create their own. He said, sometimes you got to give your children the opportunity to create their own testimony. And so that part, and which is a good objective as well for me as a parent, to step back when I need to step back in their adult life. But I think in their adolescent and childhood life, I could have been a little bit more intentional when it came to what the objective is for my family, what the objective is for my children, and what I want them to look like, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it could have been a much better outcome. Not saying they're bad and nothing like that. I think they turned out pretty well. But again, I think they could have been even stronger, and they will get even stronger once I strengthen my objective within myself, and they'll start to see the man I am and become the men and women they are. So that's just my take on it.
Hey, Lionel, can I ask you a question? What was your options inadvertently teaching an objective?
Well, no, I would say no. And the reason that is because I was given the options. I was given the options more as a luxury than an accountability, right? Because technically we always saying I want my child or I want my children to have more than me, right? And so because of that, we tend to give our children or give options more with a luxury perspective, from a luxury place, than an accountability place. And so most the times, I think, and it's a good scripture. Tina, you're gonna love this scripture because it makes sense now that I'm talking about it. When God said, "You being evil, if you being evil can give your children good good grades, then how much more will your Father give to you?" And I think from that aspect, I think I just wanted to give my kids good, whether they were doing good or not. You understand? Because I always made it up in my mind that I want to give my children better than what I had, and et cetera, and never really thought about the practicality and the accountability reason. So again, that's where the objective could have came in, because if they had more accountability came place than a luxury place, then I would have more balance in my giving than I did when I gave.
Got you. Yeah, because I asked that because sometimes, we do give options, but it's rooted on goals, like to teach a lesson. Does that make sense? So, for example, like we may give an option, all right, I'm going to give you all this money. Now, what you going to do with it? But the root of it is to teach them how to be responsible with money. You know what I mean? Or, all right, I'm going to let you go to the mall, but you got to be back at this time. And the root behind of it is teaching them, being responsible, like doing the responsible thing and getting back and building more trust in themselves. So that's why I asked that question, like, are we giving options, but inadvertently teaching goals, objectives behind those options?
Oh, and what you're saying is I think in the natural scheme of things, and just out of love, I would have done that. And I've done that, what you're saying. But I think I could have been a lot more intentional with, you understand? And I think I just gave it more for the experience and the exposure more than the education. And so you're saying more from the like when I was saying intentional, I mean it gives the in-depth intelligence that comes along with it. I gave them more opportunity and more options, with for the sake of just trying to get them more to self-sufficiency than the science of who they really are or who they really can be. So who knows? But that's an awesome way to look at it. And I couldn't really, only they can answer that question more efficiently than I could, because they may see it a totally different way. But the way I see it is I probably could have did a better job.
Gotcha.
Well, that was interesting. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just good evening I know I was late. I lost track of time. But good evening, everybody.
Evening. Welcome.
Who are you and where you came from?
I'm going to go on camera, but remember I'm at the park. I'm Leonard Ross. I'm a father of 3. I came from Miami by way of Kathy Terry and Leonard Ross Sr. I I'm dropping my oldest daughter off to college this Sunday, so I'm reaching a new pinnacle in fatherhood. That's gonna be a new experience. Dealing with the reality that we could possibly, in the last couple of days, my daughter actually living with us. So it's still a growing experience, and I'm out here with my youngest daughter, getting ready for cross country season. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for having me tonight. It's always a pleasure. To the point, I called Lionel last week. I said, hey, what's going on with the meetings?
And this is summer break. We had some summer, and guess what? It hurt in the same way, but it just couldn't. It wasn't going to work because of the travel and missing flights and here and there. And normally I could do it, but I wasn't. I was responsible for the driving and doing that stuff. That just made everything a little bit more complicated. But I'm glad that, and I'm glad that you seeing the value, and congratulations on the transition that you're going to make, because that's one that you also have to begin to say, hey, this becomes our test. Have we instilled everything we need in this young person to send them out into the world? Because this really when they go out into the world and they begin to see stuff in the practicum way, right? Is the laboratory where you really get to see what you presented them, how you present them, what you share with them. Because this normally that time is when they really start using the values with you, because they're not there and they have to use whatever they know.
Mm-hmm.
They only can use what they know, and based on what you gave them, they go into their little skills. I'm gonna say, oh, drink this. Yo, come on, just drink these drinks with us. They might wanted to do it when they stayed at your house, right? But they thought about, well, I ain't gonna go home. I don't have any control over it all if something go wrong. That safety of not the safety of your parents sometimes gives them the independence and what we want to see from them in the house. They actually begin to activate and use when they're out in the real world. Most of the time, based on what we gave them.
Right.
Really what we gave them. Because we didn't give them anything, they going with the crowd. They don't have any options. They're like, the option is, hey, I always learn that this, that, and the other, versus, I ain't never told you to do nothing or not do. I just told you stuff I don't want you to do in my house. Like that. I used to tell people, and I still say, the worst thing to say while you in my house, right? Because it's almost the option saying, I don't care if you do it at all, just in my house, I don't want you to do it. And the true thing is, you don't want them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't you tell them that? These are the reasons why I don't want you to do it. Not because in my house, I don't want you to do it in my house. I don't want you to do it because there's a lot of things that you're better than that. It's not something I want you to be doing. It's not something I think that, but you have to make the decision. And here's the point. They have to make the decision, because ultimately at 3:00, I'm just gonna teleport myself back to college, right? At 11:50, I think it was 11:30, the decision to freshmen have curfew at the school I went to. At 11 o'clock, they would have to make that decision to run and go get in the dorm and be in bed call, or just not come back for the rest of the weekend. Those kind of decisions. But if you decide you're gonna stay out past 11, where are you going for the rest of the weekend? And what situations does that put you in, where now you are kind of signed out? Because they just assume that you're not there. You signed out. You out of here. So
I remember a story, Ron, and I don't know how. I mean, it just came back to my memory because it really did happen. So I remember I went to visit, because I used to go see my dad in the summers and the winter, and so it was just a whole new dynamic for me, because I got to do stuff in as a kid from the inner city, most kids from the inner cities wasn't doing. I got to get on flights, fly on Eastern, Pan Am, and stuff like that when they had bigger chairs and better treatment. When you used to have to go to the airport and you had to be dressed up, because I could never figure out why my mama putting on my Easter clothes for me just to get on the plane. But they had a dress code where you used to have to
Absolutely.
you used to have to get you have to go to the airport dressed up. You couldn't go like with jeans and stuff like that. So everybody had to look professional at the airport back in those days. Nonetheless, I remember landing and spending the summer with my dad, which was roughly about 2 months. And I remember my dad. He said, "I'm gonna take you." He said, "Son, I'm gonna take you to see a friend of mine." I'm like, "All right." And he was always emphasizing, "Son, whatever you do, don't do drugs, blah blah blah." And because he meant it, right? Not that he ever threatened me, but I could hear in his concern in his heart. That's just something he never wanted me to do. Like, "Son, don't do drugs, blah blah blah." And he took me to see a friend of his who was pretty much on his deathbed. I don't know what he had gotten a hold of. Oh, that's what it was. His friend crack had just came out, right? Freebase, because I remember this could have been like 1980, maybe 81. And it was 80, 81. That puts me between the ages of 9 and 10 years old. And so I remember his friend was on his deathbed. You know, they like when you're on your deathbed, they'll bring the hospital bed at the house or something like that. And it's
The hospital.
Something like that. Yeah. So I remember, you know, he's taking me to see his friend, and I know he was real broken up about it, you know, but he just couldn't. All he could just tell me was, "Don't use drugs, son. Whatever you do, don't use drugs, blah blah blah." Even though he smoked weed, right? So now the thing about it is, and I give my dad his kudos on that. I knew he smoked weed because I could look in the ashtray of his truck. And I could tell the difference between, because my mom was a cigarette smoker, and I could tell the difference between a weed butt and a cigarette butt. Not to mention weed always have a more distinctive smell than cigarettes. So I knew he smoked weed, even though he never smoked it around me. So let me just put that caveat in. He never smoked it around me, but I knew he did smoke weed. Nonetheless, because his conviction and the way he said it was so convincing to me, it took me a long time to even drink alcohol. I mean, I'm drinking a little wine right now, but it took me nearly 30 years to start drinking. And so now you're gonna love this part, because the crew I hung with. I mean, I'm from Liberty City, so I'm gonna leave that where it's at. So the crew I hung with, all of them drank. I ain't talking like it's very rare that none of them drank. And so, they used to get so pissed off at me. I go around them, I hang out with them, because, you know, we friends, so I got to hang out there. I'm hanging out with a whole crew that drink. And what happened is I have to still drink with them, but the problem was I was drinking them all day chaser. and I think after a while they got wind of it, like, wait a minute, why all our Pepsi and Coca-Cola is gone? And somebody got wind of it, like I was drinking them all day chasers. So it was like, you know, the jig was up. Like, man, you don't even drink, so why you drinking them all chaser? So I got to go to the store and get the more chaser, because I'm drinking with them, but I'm drinking pure chaser and ice and no alcohol. So it must have took about, my dad's conviction must have carried me for about at least 30 years before I even started drinking. And my wife drank more than me. Right? Which really, I'm like, oh my God. So now I'm like, yeah, your wife to beat you drinking more than, not that she drinks to that point. She's a social drinker herself. But I mean, she drink, when it comes to the drink, I get a Shirley Temple, she gets some little Bakken. And she from over town, so she was making me look soft. But either way it goes. But it was just to know that my dad, the impact my dad had, and the authority, or better yet, let me pull out the word authority, because he always had authority. I always respect his authority. But to your point, Teeny, the only way I think a parent can truly combat the influence the world have on their child is to be an inspiration or to inspire their child. And right. I think it's my dad at that particular time, his conviction. I mean, for me, he didn't even have the words to convince me to stay away from drugs, but because his conviction, he just, and he never asked me for much, But because he asked me for that particular thing, I gave it to him up all the way up to the age of 30 years old. And I was never a big a drug user anyway, because my tonsils was all messed up. So just cigarettes alone will inflame my tonsils. So that would just cut out all the weeds. Smoking, period. Even though my mom was a smoker, smoking, period, don't work for me because it gives me an allergic reaction, tonsil-wise. So that was out anyway. So God is just good in that aspect, and blessed me with a good dad who just had that much concern to keep me away from that particular thing. So that's what I would say.
Interesting. The topic of social media is also can be another term can be used. Is social media addictive? Because we all use social media in some regards, but when it becomes addictive, like any addiction, is when it controls you. So that is something we need to work on separate, because of course social media, we know today people are not communicating. I don't need to communicate. I have my phone. I can see if I go somewhere right now, to most buildings and most places, there's someone on their phone. I've walked in the mall and a coworker walked straight into me. She was on her phone in the mall. Think about it. So again, is sometimes we have to unplug. And unplugging in the term of just unplug. Just take a break. And also, there's another trick that I recommend. I don't know if you guys remember the flip phone. Do you guys know the flip phone? It's an old school phone, but it works. Here's why. A flip phone, you can't go on social media. You can get a phone call, but you're not on social media. So there are many different ways we can teach our children how to unplug. Because we all need a break. Think about it. Everyone is going 100 miles per hour. It just, at some point, we need to pause. Or as I said best, unplug. That's the idea we could exercise. Yep.
You know what? It's a flip side to that, what you're saying, Ron, because as I'm thinking about it, I think, again, Dr. Nobel said these words, people would rather be infamous than ignored. And now, how does that play into our relationship with our children? And I think sometimes, and I'm going to be honest with you, adults do it too, but I'm going to put the ball in the court of our children so we can get a little bit more understanding. Most of the time, parents, when we have our children undivided attention, we don't know what to say to them. Right? Like, okay, mom, dad, you got me at the table. Okay, what are we going to talk about? And that's where the terminology of people would rather be infamous than ignored comes in that, because sometimes I think we go into our phones, and I've done it too. So let me just speak for life. I went into my phone simply to either not be ignored by the people around me, or guess what? Or to ignore the fact that I have to present myself a certain way, if that makes any sense. Or to, guess what? Or to ignore the fact that I'm by myself right now. Or to ignore, you understand? And so I think, and this is where you can say, I was like, yes, it's going to be addictive, because social media allows us to hide. Because I've done it myself. I remember going into sometimes I do it in church. If I want to hide or get away from something that I was disinterested in, or a sermon or something, or a part of the service I was disinterested in, I go straight to social media. I mean, in church. You know, God don't give me for that. But it is true. So I noticed I had to search myself before I can really confront my children about why they do it. I had to first ask myself, why do I do it? And I'm like, wow, so this is why you do it. You do it, number one, to escape. Number two, to hide. You understand? Or number three, to avoid from being ignored. Or guess what? Or sometimes you want to be ignored. You may be sitting in a place where you're like, you know what? If I go into social media, maybe people won't notice me either sitting here by myself or something like that. And so I understand the sociological science of it. Because at the end of the day, with or without social media, and you got some of even the most affluent people, is why back in the day before social media, you got people keeping a newspaper in front of their face. Guess what? Not because they're like reading newspapers. They'll read the newspaper for the perception. You understand? You understand? And the truth of the matter is, it's the same thing. We put a lot of pressure on our children. Oh, they be on social media. I'm like, we was doing the same thing with newspapers because we went under the perception of intelligent people read newspapers. Well, the fact that you may just been looking at the funnies, or you might have just had the newspaper up in front of your face to either isolate yourself or hide. And again, we never really researched it. You understand? So we just assume that everybody that reads newspapers or have a newspaper in their face is just an intellect. When that's far from the truth, especially when you start talking to them. So I think we're facing the same influences just on a faster or more broader level with the social media than we did with the newspapers and magazines, because again, everybody wasn't reading the information for the same reason, and not so much to even empower themselves. Because sometimes I think most of the time we jump into different things just to entertain ourselves.
Brother Lightborn, you brought up something earlier that one of the ways you can shield your kids is being inspiration to them. Obviously, your dad was an inspiration to you and literally kept you from doing certain things because of his conviction and how he was telling you what to do and what not to do. Do you think that he knew he was an inspiration to you? And did that translate when you become a father? Did you have in the back of your mind that I'm going to be an inspiration to my kids?
I think not really. I mean, I wanted to be the best father that I could be. And so that's probably where the inspiration started and stopped. Was it, do I know or even know how to be an inspiration? It's a good question. You understand? And so I don't think I had a clue on how to be an inspiration. All I know is, or knew at that particular time, is to give whatever good I had, right? And in the process of giving whatever good I had, and I didn't have much good, or goods with an S. You got good, which was ethics, and then you got goods with economics. I didn't have either. But remember I told you.
I think you're selling yourself short.
Well, I was a teen father. I had my son straight out of high school, and so I gave up. Coincidentally, I gave up a fully paid scholarship to Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio, to become a father. And so that's where that comes from. So when you and I think I went my whole life not trying to not regret that particular sacrifice, and I always fight back. I say no, because I'm like, I don't think, had I went to Central State University knowing my makeup and knowing my character, I don't think I would be the level of father I was. You understand? Had I went to Central State University versus the sacrifice. So I made a sacrifice to become a father, and that's pretty much where everything started for me. And so it was want that turned into work. That make any sense? Literally, this is my fatherhood. My fatherhood was literally built on want that actually turned into work that made me a father. And so, because you're talking about coming from fathering from zero, right? And so, when as it pertained to my dad, the inspiration didn't happen until on the back end. I don't even think he was trying to be an inspiration. I think where he became inspiration is because he didn't tell me not to do drugs. He asked me not to do drugs. See the difference? And had he told me, I probably would have done drugs. But it wasn't so much um, it wasn't so much a demand on telling me to do it. That was the one time that he transformed his authority into a bridge where we became on the same. You understand? He was like, just do something for me. And again, as a kid, you don't really believe you can do anything for your parents other than make your grades, right? Or listen to them. But in his aspect, the fact that he asked me to do, and he didn't ask me for a lot because most parents don't ask their children for too much. But the fact that you can ask me for something that I can actually give as a child, and guess what, may take a long time, but I was like, at that particular moment, I think a part of me knew I could give that to him, right? Not saying I was confident that I could, but a part of me knew that, you know what, I can do that, right? Because you asked me for it. And because he asked me for it, that was the one thing that I was able to give him. But my mom, coincidentally, parents actually have those inspirational moments because my mom did the same thing. It was later on in life. I was a teen, middle school, probably like roughly in the 7th, 8th grade. And my mom, she would, she'd hang out. I told you my mom was a little mama. She'd hang out. She was that girl. And my mom would come home with my stepdad, toe up, right? and this is the strangest part. She come home and she'll wake you up. So I'm like, why do people when they drunk want to talk? You know? She literally wake me up and want to have a full-fledged conversation with me that she would not normally have if she was sober, right? And so she come home inebriated, and she comes sit on the bed, and she got the whiskey tears, and she's like, I remember her in the midst of all that. She asked me, she's like, she said, promise me one thing. She said, promise me that you'll graduate from high school or something like that. And I'm saying to myself, in the midst of you being out in the club and having a good time and this and that, in the midst of being inebriated, out of all the things that can in the world that can concern you, this is the one thing you want to ask me? And I was between, it had to be like, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning when she came home. And she asked me, she made that request at 2 o'clock in the morning, inebriated, and I heard her at that particular time. I ain't never tell her I heard her. I just knew at that particular moment I can give her that. I didn't know how. I was on the verge of dropping out anyway. But I just knew at that particular moment, I'm like, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I can give her that. And lo and behold, when I graduated fully paid scholarship and everything, far more than she asked for. And so I made up in that. And it's amazing how the inspiration happened, because inspiration don't have to happen in the best situations. Let me be very clear. That wasn't the best situation for my mom to have inspiration, but because she asked me for something that she knew I can give, even though she was inebriated, that's where inspiration came to me. Like, wow, here my mama in the worst possible state, right? And thinking the best of me in the worst possible state. How can you think of somebody so high, right, from a low place? And that's what became inspiration for me, as far as her story goes. So both of them was inspirations for me at two totally different times. But it's up to you. And I think inspiration, and I'm gonna be honest with you, you cannot find or see inspiration if you ain't got no appreciation for your parent anyway. I can tell you that straight up. But if you got the smallest bit of appreciation for your parents, you'll never miss the inspiration of what they are. I don't care if they're good, bad, and different. They're going to be an inspiration to you one way or another.
Good word. Good word.
Well, let me say, I think we chopped this topic right into some good play, and I let Lightborn kind of as I listened, I heard some more topics come out of some of the stuff he said. As even looking at this, and I'll just say this is interesting that I wonder, Lightborn, the decision to say, hey, I'm going to give up the stuff I was going to do to become a father. Was that more your calling than the other stuff? Sometimes Like I had scholarship, I had this stuff, but was that even really me? Or was this more me? Was this idea of being the father something that was going to be more to, and that's something we sometimes have to think about. And this goes again, I always have to do the shameless plug for my theory of consensual fatherhood. but it is a perfect example of how this operates for us as men and as fathers when we are faced with this decision, or how this decision, because it could have been like, well, I'm gonna go to school because it'd be better for me just to go to school and get what I need to get, and it'd be better for the child that way. Well, that it could be. You don't know at the moment. You just go on what skills you have, and I think this is just closing up our topic. Kids, as you were a kid, go on the skills they have to make the decisions based on what they've been taught and what they experienced. And a lot you can experience a lot, and then again, you can experience a lot. It just said so much to me when he said your mom came home and asked you just grab, and I felt that, my case conception of when I hear experiences of looking at the case conception of why she did that and what was the purpose, had little to do. So I feel like it had little to do with you, more to do with her, and that she wanted better for you because of what she was experiencing, and she knew that if you didn't go and do this, what would happen to you, and would you end up, and how would you end up in, like, just promise me. And it's crazy because that promise to make may or may have not been something that made you change or be like her or not like her, or any of that. But we just got to live our life. And I think sometimes we use the skills as parents, as fathers. We have to know our kids use the skills that we give them, and they make the best decisions that they do with the skills we gave them, the options, the choices, the ideas, the morals, the ethics. All of that plays into what we give them to then be able to battle in the world, the streets, the social media, in the best way they can. So I would say to fathers, from our conversation tonight, remember, it's what we do, how we do it, and why we do it is what our kids get from us. Because our kids are not dumb. Listen, by the time they're a teenager, they're not dumb. They hit to all the, you only want to come and get me to spite my mama. They check that. They check it. They begin to check it, and they see, well, you come and get me, but you take me to my grandma's house. What you coming to get me for? I can stay at home, continue to do what I was going to do anyway. My house smell like licorice. She don't want me to go in the living room, so they can't get on the couch with the plastic. These kind of, I don't got none of my friends over her in their area. These are the kind of things. So they begin to recognize and they notice these things. So remember, fathers, what we put and what we do, they soak in and they make the choices on how they interact to the streets and to social media to have control over them, or to utilize what you gave them to manage those things having control over. So that being said, listen, I really want to thank you guys, everybody, for their conversation, especially Brother Ross coming out here doing the double duty. I think that this is a perfect example of what I try to express to people, is that this is not something that you got to give the full duty. You can be doing your double duty, and you'll still get, because we do it all the time. Listen, we live in a world where most people are multitasking. They're doing 3 or 4 things at a time. And when you can sometimes get the skills, and again, congratulations to the send off to your daughter getting ready to go to college. Every time I hear that a young person is going to college, because what a lot of us don't know is the statistics is that a lot of our young people are not even getting to go to. They want to go, but they're not getting to go. See, we haven't. This is the time. There's a lot of young people who want to go to college, but then don't have the opportunity. And this is a crazy situation that I'm seeing. They don't have the means. They look. I don't mean to belabor this, but look at what happened at Howard. Howard got something going on, and people asking what's going on because these people had their money and they turned the kids away and said they unenrolled them. They had the money. So, hey, it is what it is. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And fathers, if you repeat after me, I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
Yeah.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
Fathers, I say that you are.
You are.
Fathers, I say that we are.
We are.
Championship. And as you always see, we lift our arms high, holding our kids on our arms and our families on our back. Again, fathers, we want to see you here again next week. Like, share, subscribe. Share this with somebody who you may think might need the uplift. They might just need the support. They might just need the love. They might just need the moment to hear some other men talking about something other than sports and politics, right? Maybe just a little bit. They might want to hear something else. Our complaints are downside. But again, I want to thank you guys, man. It feels good to be back. And we'll be back here again next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, same time for the Fatherhood Think Tank. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. People in the audience. I see my dad got on here tonight, so I hope he was able to listen to some of this. Some other people on Facebook and out there on YouTube. We had a good showing tonight of people watching. I was surprised. I think we got almost up to about 10 people tonight watching. So that to me is something I'm paying attention to. Even if they watch for 2 seconds, they might have got a good word in those 2 minutes to a second that they was on there. So again, we want to welcome you to join us again next week. See you guys again next week, and for joining us at the Fatherhood Think Tank. Thank you.
All right.
And
y'all have a blessed weekend. Oh, and don't forget to give a shout out to Margot. Margot was on here.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, I see in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see any of that because okay, Margot, thanks for being there. Good. We had her in the night.
All right, fellas, y'all be blessed.
Have a great one, everybody.
All right.
All right, fam.
What's up, Doc?